Dave Heeman. How are you, sir?
I am wonderful, David. So
So
happy to be here with you.
yeah, so glad that you jumped on the podcast. I've heard about you a lot and even use your program, which is fantastic, and we're going to dive into that
Awesome.
today. But I just wanted to have you on here to talk a little bit about your background, kind of where you're from, and how you developed this amazing program, and how it's going, and what you have planned for the future. So. But yeah, first off, just tell us a little bit about where you're from. Like, how did you get started with like your music school, and where are you from, and all that?
So I am originally from the Midwest. I'm from Cleveland. Moved to Los Angeles in 2000, and my wife is a musician as well. And in 2008, we started a music school here in Los Angeles. In 2013, we added dance. So our program is a mix of music and dance, and the music program has an early childhood component as well. We probably have, I think, about 970 kids at this point, and about 500 plus are music. Between our private lessons, we have some group lessons, and we have some early childhood. So it's a diverse program. There's a good amount going on. We taught music lessons for years before that. I think that, we came to opening a music studio a lot like a lot of studio owners do, through teaching in different programs, and then finally figuring out that they could make a career out of it, right? And they could piece together, with the help of other teachers, a studio. When you start a program, there's some immovable facts, right? Immovable processes. You've got to find a space, if it is a brick and mortar space. You got to hire teachers. You got to know how much to pay these teachers. You have to find students. You have to have some kind of way to schedule your students, and you got to figure out how much to charge them. And you have to figure out what happens when they miss a lesson. So, the idea of Lessonmate is that final challenge.
Right. Well, and you guys really did a phenomenal job of growing a diverse program. So, like, you talk about over 500 music students, but then you also have the dance, and you have the group, and all that kind of thing. So did it start out that way? Did it start out with just music, and then you kind of expanded into the other programs? Or did you always have the plan to kind of create this art school concept?
No, not at all. I have no background in dance,
Okay.
but I have. So when we started our program, it was just music, and my wife has a lot of experience with early childhood music. So the program had a large early childhood program, and then starting at age 6 and 7, kids would move into private lessons. But I got to know some studio owners who had this expanded, diverse, as you say, program where they added dance, and it seemed, and they were able then to take advantage of families just being in the space, right? So here is, Billy, who's come for his piano lesson, his guitar lesson, and his sister happens to be with him. Families are busy. They're running.
Right.
They're running all the time, and they're juggling activities. If Susie can take dance at the same location, that's great. It took us a while to get that started, of course, because the world of dance is very different. But it's great. It's a fantastic enrichment, and it functions really well. When music sometimes does better, dance does better, and diversity in a program is good. It's healthy.
Yeah, it creates stability. Yeah, because
totally.
there's different varying seasons, right, of growth or retraction in each of those sections of the business. So that's really interesting, and good for you for having so many different sort of irons in the fire, so to speak. Because I mean, I would say I've always been hesitant to diverse my program too much. I mean, we have over 900 students, but it's all like one-on-one music lessons, right? Like I don't do anything else. But what for me, it's always been like I want to have I don't want to if you go diverse, you have to be mindful of the fact that you're really creating almost a new business, like
It's
almost a completely different business.
totally, it's a completely different program. I mean, it really is. Aside from the fact that they're kids and they're going to have siblings taking, part of another program. The program itself is really different. As
Right.
you're hiring teachers, you're creating curriculum. The dance program is all about the recital. Recitals are big in music, certainly, but the dance is we're right now, it's February, and we're knee deep in measuring costumes. It's not, it's been great for us and we've been lucky. But it's not an easy, let's just start a program. We made a lot of mistakes with dance early on. And, but you can diversify your music program, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can take your music and you can hone in on early childhood. And that's a really, really,
right.
3 and 4 year olds don't have a lot to do. I was talking to our desk staff the other day. They don't have a lot of programs that are available to them. It's good for dance, but it's also good for early childhood. Toddlers. We have kids that are 4 months old in our baby classes. And there's nothing for a 4-month-old to do. So you have an activity where the parent can be involved, and you can start. And it's deep. The early childhood, pedagogy is deep, and there's some really great programs that you can utilize if that's something you're interested in doing.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I hear you. I think that there's a lot of wisdom to that, and diversity creates stability. There's just no doubt about that. It does. It creates stability in your revenue, which of course is what we want. The other thing that creates stability in your revenue is your student retention, which that's my big thing. But I also believe that one of the ways that you retain students is by having a good system for makeups, which is really what I want to dive into today with you, because you guys, I mean, I want to hear the story. Like, how did you stumble upon the idea of LessonMate? And so tell us the story of how this whole thing originated, and then I want you to talk about what it is and how it works and all that kind of thing. But first, let's dive into, like, where did LessonMate come from? Where did the idea originate with you? So walk us through that.
So we're not the first studio to use the idea of the video as makeup, right? So the challenge is the video as makeup is the delivery, right? It's the creation and the easy delivery. As I said, my wife and I have been teachers for years in a whole bunch of different situations, whether it's a music store, whether it's a lesson, a situation like we own, going to people's houses, having them come to our house, all these different situations. And, so this issue of the makeup lesson, what happens when the student misses, has been ever present. And when we opened our own school, we were really conscious of it. And then, as we were, trying to figure out a way to deal with these missed lessons, we were, running into a bunch of, challenges. How can we, and we're all trying to kind of figure out in our systems ways to deliver things that are consistent, right? That are the same way every single time. They are functional, they work, parents respect them, our teachers respect them, and they're easy to understand. They're easy to communicate. I mean, every policy has to be easy to get. People, again, lots of information is coming at them all the time. They come to sign up with lessons at your school, and you want to be able to explain something very concisely. And then you want to be able to achieve those expectations. So when someone misses, what you've told them when they sign up, what is written on your policy is exactly what is delivered to them. So that, when we're trying to find a way to not bog our studio down, not bog our front desk staff down, and deliver something. We started with YouTube. We started with, I think it was a private YouTube channel, and the teachers would record a video, and, throwing a 8-year-old onto YouTube. I mean, we can control what's on the screen, but we can't control what's on the side. And there's just some wonky stuff that we knew was going on. So at the time, one of our teachers was married to a developer, Dan Weaver, and Dan is still with us today. And I talked to a couple developers about just the idea. How can we create a platform where the teachers can record a video and send this out to the students? And I wasn't having much luck, and I found Dan, and then we started creating, what would be LessonMate. And that was, I think we've been using some iteration of LessonMate since 2016 at our school, maybe 2000. And certainly it's developed, and we've developed features. I think we have about 135 schools now that are using LessonMate. And I think it says on our website, I think we have over 1 million lessons now, which is really, really exciting. But yeah, I mean, it's been a process. It's been a process of figuring out how to do this, make it really functionable, make it easy to use for the teachers, make it, slowly start building features that are going to, with that central mission, with the central mission that is LessonMate, but, expand upon those central functions, which I can talk about.
Well, let's talk about that then. So LessonMate, just for somebody that's never heard of what LessonMate is or how it works or what it's for or anything like that, can you kind of give us sort of the 30,000 foot, Cliff Notes
pitch
version of what is it? Yeah,
you got it. Okay, so LessonMate is an easy, intuitive way for a teacher to record and upload video, upload PDFs, MP3s, files of any kind, organize those in one space, add some text, YouTube clips, and then deliver those easily to students with a click of a button. And this is all to be done during the time of the missed lesson. Okay, so let's say it's Tuesday at 3:30 and Josh is not at the lesson. The way that we do it is I don't need any notice from Josh. Josh can give me a week's notice. He can give me a month's notice. He can give me a day's notice. He cannot show up. The teacher is there to teach, and I'm paying the teacher irregardless. So if at 3:35 Josh is not at the lesson, the teacher opens up their LessonMate account and starts creating this LessonMate lesson, this makeup lesson, by recording some video and creating some text, uploading some sheet music, maybe attaching a YouTube clip. And this all should be able to be done within a 25 minute period of time. We've got in our support, we have examples of what we call the perfect LessonMate lesson. And so the idea is for a teacher to follow this template every single time that they create this. And over time, they're going to get used to the process, and it'll be really easy for them to do this. There are other features that help this within LessonMate. So every teacher has a library, and in their library, it's stored all the uploads they've ever created, all the sheet music that they've uploaded to LessonMate. They can actually record straight into their library and upload straight into their library. They can tag all this information, and then they can reuse it. So this helps the process itself be shorter and easier.
That's amazing. And I would say, just from my own perspective, not being on your side of the table, as a studio, what you're solving is you're solving the problem of schedule, right? because the biggest issue, the reason why the makeup lesson is such a big issue in the music school world is because we've already set aside this time for this student to show up and have their lesson. The
Yeah.
student doesn't show up, even if they've called us ahead of time and told us they're not going to be there. Now we have to double book that student. Oh, I got balloons. So now we have to double book that student. We have to find 2 times when we've only been paid for 1. And this is the big challenge that I've had for years until I discovered this solution. Because yeah, anyone can think of just like, oh well, just make a video and send it, right? But
Yep.
to your point, it's like, well, how do you distribute it? And how do you make it easy enough for the teacher to be able to just do it in 20 minutes and send it
Yeah.
off? And then how do you get the parent, and how do you protect the teacher's private info from the parent? Like, there's so many things that you have to solve. It's not like the concept is really pretty, like, mind-numbingly simple, right? But the deeper
It
you
is simple.
go, the more you realize that, man, this thing solves a lot of problems.
So you made a great point. Our business is time and space, right? Our business is, we have a finite amount of space. We have a finite amount of time. When someone misses, that time is gone and the space has been saved for that particular moment for that student. And I don't want to ask my teachers to do anything more than to be there for that day, for that time, to teach their roster. I don't want anything to change. I don't want them to have to stay for, I don't want their schedule to change whatsoever. It's, look, these music teachers are fantastic and I adore all of them. And some of them, they're all different personalities and, different, I want their lives to be as manageable as possible, right? And I don't want to throw them any curveballs at all. And if I can say to them, at 3:30, you're going to teach Josh, whether Josh is there or not, then that's a very simple concept for them to understand, right?
That's
and then
right.
on the parent side of the equation, if I say to a parent, every week you're going to get a lesson. Now, the best case scenario is to show up. That's what we all want. That's where great education is going to happen. But if you can't show up, I'm not going to ask you to show up in another time. I'm not going to make you feel bad about not showing up at another time. I'm not going to make you feel bad about not getting the value for your money, right? Because if a kid misses twice in a month, a parent is going to go, well, goodness, I'm depending upon the solution. And we haven't talked about that yet. There are a host of solutions out there at this point. Regardless of what your policy is, it's sometimes good to, kind of have an audit once in a while to go, how is this functioning? And I know that moving policies is hard. It's a difficult thing. There's a lot of different players involved, and new is difficult. New is difficult, even if new is better. New is difficult. And new is difficult for teachers, it's difficult for front desk, and it's difficult for parents. But to kind of take a look at your existing policy and ask yourself certain questions, right? Is it consistent? Is it the same every single time? Right? Because people like consistency. And is it functional? Does it do what you say it should do? Is it good education? And is it easy to understand? These are the things I was talking about earlier. But
you brought up something interesting, which maybe we can dissect a little bit, which is the other, like what's the other option, right? So like,
yeah,
if somebody misses a lesson, again, I don't know of any other solution that matches this, other than, I guess there is one other solution that matches this, and that is just simply to tell the client or to tell the parent that there is no makeup, right? Like, you either
right.
show up and you get your lesson, or you or you don't show up, but you're still paying for it. That when, like, and I know there's a lot of schools that do this. There are some, at least, that do this.
Yeah.
And the attitude is like, look, well, we're here. It's our time. And that's legitimate. But the problem is it creates friction with the client. That's a point
Yeah.
of friction for them. They have to get over it. Maybe they would agree to it when they first show up and sign up for lessons because they're excited. But the moment they start missing lessons, every time they miss a lesson, they're in their mind, they're thinking, I've lost a little bit of money. I'm paying for something I'm not getting. I'm paying for something I'm not getting. There, that friction builds up and it creates resentment. And eventually the student leaves. So unless we're giving them some value, it doesn't have to be a lot of value. That's the thing.
This is not comparable, right? This is not comparable to the live lesson. And that's a great point. Well, to your earlier point, right. The only policy that is of measurable maintenance to what Lesson Mate proposes is you're not going to get anything. And just as you said, saying no is hard. Saying no, but if you can go, oh, you're not going to be here today? Great. Well, look out for your inbox from an email from your teacher with a lesson. And so, a parent can feel good and feel like they're getting some kind of value for their money. But your point is extremely, extremely valid. It's a difficult thing. It's a tricky thing that we are trying to propose something that everyone feels really good about. The best thing, as I said before, the best thing is to show up for the lesson. But we want to make sure that even when someone doesn't show, that there's still connection. You mentioned retention before. Nothing starts breaking that retention more than an absence.
Right.
Right. I mean, again, people's lives are busy and they're running here and they're running there and they miss a couple lessons and then they start feeling a little lousy about that. The child is not sure what's going on in lessons at this point. Now they're starting to feel insecure about that. I don't know what's happening. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at. I'm not supposed to be sure what I'm playing or practicing. And that disengagement, that disconnection is going to lead to, let's just maybe take a break. And we don't want that to happen. And if we can then give them something during that time, they would normally have a lesson. During that time, they would normally make that connection again. Then we're going to keep them engaged, and hopefully that leads to the retention that we all want.
That's right. So I think we've established the fact that it has value, right? And there are other options in the industry that people are exploring and that are trying. I just haven't found any other option that doesn't require us to ask something else of the teacher, whether we pay them for it or not. Either way, that's another friction point, right? So like if I ask a teacher to just be available to teach makeup lessons to anyone who missed during the month, it's like, well, now I'm asking them to do something else. I maybe have to pay them for that, or maybe I don't. Either way, that's a friction point. But this doesn't, because I am asking the teacher to make this video, but I'm already paying them for the time to be there. So it's not like it's an unreasonable ask, right?
Right. You're paying them, and then and you're going to pay them for that at the same time you would normally pay for an attended lesson. You're not pushing the payment back. I know there's systems where makeups are made later on and teachers aren't getting paid until later on. We want to be as upfront as we can with our teachers.
And it just keeps it simple. It just keeps it really simple. So I like it. I think, and it's been a home run for us. Now I want to dive into the actual utilization of Lesson Mate. So let's say you have Lesson Mate. You're like, okay, I want to do it. This is great. I love it. I've got teachers going and using this thing now. There is a little bit of a learning curve for teachers. Like they have to learn how to do the upload and, all that kind of stuff within the program. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is, and like I said, I have a lot of students, and so it's easy for me to test these kinds of things because I just look at the data that's coming in. And And so one of the things that comes up, and this is a question that comes up, so I'm going to forward it on to you, is like the view, getting students to view the lesson mate. Some of the teachers, they expect students to watch every single lesson mate that they make, right? Because they made that
Right.
lesson mate, so the students should
Yeah.
watch it. Now, not all the students watch them, right? Sometimes they're just like,
No.
"Oh yeah, that's cool that I got that, great, whatever," but then they don't watch it.
Yep.
So, do you have some tricks or some suggestions as to increasing viewership of these lesson mates that the teachers are making?
I do. Okay. So I have a few thoughts in this, because this can be frustrating for a teacher. I understand that, because they know they're able to see whether or not a lesson has been viewed.
Right.
You're able to see it as an admin, and the teacher is able to see it. And really quickly, I want to make sure that people understand that this is kind of hierarchical. There's an admin account, there are teacher accounts, and then there are students accounts associated with teachers. But as an admin, you can see everything. You can see everything your teachers do, every lesson they create, every upload and video that is sent, and and you can actually sign in as a teacher and view everything. But it's very transparent. Everything is as an admin, as an owner, you can see everything that's going on. Okay, so when a teacher is creating a lesson, they have to be really conscious of the length of these lessons and the components of the lesson. Okay, we don't want to create an opus. We've had teachers who create these beautiful, long, wonderful, there's paragraphs of text, and they've got 7 pieces of sheet music, and they have 12 videos, and that's a lot of work, and that's great, but that's too much. Imagine a 10-year-old or 9-year-old getting an email. So the emails are sent to the parents, and when the parents opens up, hey, you got an email from your teacher, you got a lesson from your teacher. And this is what they are seeing. It's too much. We want to give students very specific information. We want to write text that is, this is the book we're working on, these are the page numbers, this is the piece. And the videos, we want to be short and concise, very specific. Right? So we're talking about 3 minutes.
Okay.
This is this tune. This is this exercise. This is this technique. You can record as much as you want to, and you record as many videos as you want to, but you really want them to be concise, because if a student opens that up, then they're able to see this video, and the video is titled a specific thing, right? And they're much more apt to watch videos and open up lessons if it's digestible.
Right.
Okay, so that's the first point. Even with that, not everyone is going to watch these videos. We can put our best foot forward. That's what we do as educators, right? We give information. We're going to do it in a way that we feel is best for a particular student at a particular time. All right? We're going to ask them to work on things at home. And we're going to hope that we're doing it in a way that's inspired and is informed, and they will practice, but they don't always, right? Kids
Right.
come to, we've done our best job ever. We know we've taught this thing. We've taught it many times. We have the perfect way to deliver this piece of information. And we say, can you play this when you're at home this week a few times? And they come in for the next lesson. They're like, oh gosh, I've been busy this week and I didn't get a chance to do it. That's just the name of the game, kind of. That's just the dynamic that exists. And so we don't have control about, in some ways, what they do at home. And so all we can do is fulfill our part of the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna give them some great stuff. It's gonna be pertinent. It's gonna have to do with what we were talking about last week lesson, and we're gonna do it in digestible form. We're going to add some fun YouTube clip in there of someone performing, for some inspiration. And we're going to put it in their hands. And
Sure.
Sometimes they're going to watch it, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're going to practice. Sometimes they're not.
Right.
But
do you have a metric that you try to stay, viewership percentage wise? Is there a standard that you try to stick to?
We're shooting for 50%. 50%, 60%. I mean, really, and I know that you're like,
Okay.
wow, is that
Sure.
it? But, and I think that that's how people respond to, let's say, makeup lessons in general, for trying to book makeup lessons, have systems for booking live makeup lessons. They're not all made up. We're looking at long goals here in music, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at years of hopefully years of lessons. Okay, and that's how we kind of have to approach everything that we do. So we're doing everything with kind of a soft touch, because
Right.
that's the name of the game. I have many thoughts on practice and how practice fits in to lessons. And I don't like the word practice. I don't even like that. I like the word play. I like giving kids reachable goals. I like giving kids, putting music lessons in a place in their lives that it can sit, and all this other stuff is going on, right? Sports and vacations, and music lessons sits in this place here, and it asks for something, but it doesn't ask for too much. It asks for things maybe dependent upon individual students, but I want it to sit there because it's that game of time, which is going to lead a student to become good enough to take this amazing thing and bring it into adulthood. This incredible thing, this identity, core identity, a part of who they are. So I know I've expounded a lot on this
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Well, no, I can tell you're passionate about the educational part of the music experience, which I love. So tell me about, okay, so with this whole 50 to 60% viewership goal, and I think that's a really good metric just for people to know that for you, like the creator of this product, like you're shooting for 50 to 60%, because that there are going to be a lot of people that just are not going to watch it, just like there's a lot of people that just simply don't practice because it's not necessarily a priority to them, and that's fine, right? Like the big thing from a business standpoint is we want to make sure that that there's not a point of friction with the makeup lessons. We are offering value. We're offering value instead of nothing, right? Or instead of us having to like scurry around with our schedule and come up with some other time. Like there's so many other options out there. Like there's some people that just give credit, like makeup credits. But my issue with all of those is that I want those openings to be for new students. I want those to be open for new students. I don't want to like open up my schedule and say, oh, well, we got an opening here. Why don't you just do a makeup lesson there? Because again, now they're paying for one spot, but they're taking two, even if it's for that week. So that's kind of I get passionate about that. But Dave, tell me this. What's in the future for Lesson Mate? What are some of your plans, and where do you see this software going, or is there more to it? Have you kind of reached that pinnacle? Tell me about the future.
So at core, right? At core, we are a file sharing platform, right? Okay. We're sharing in the form of lessons, but we are creating video. We're sending video. We are implementing, and a lot of these features are going to be in the control of admin and owner. You can turn these on, you can turn them off. We're going to be adding a student side video recording. So right now it's one way. You can record, teachers can upload docs and record video and send it out to students. We are going to be implementing a student side video record if asked by the teacher. Okay, so that there will be, as part of maybe part of the makeup lesson, the teacher can say, hey, can you record yourself playing such and such? And then we'll take a look at it next week. One reason that we hadn't done it for a long time, because I don't want to impede on the teacher's time. I don't want there any kind of expectation that a teacher is going to be viewing videos during the week. But it'll just be something that, we've had We're implementing this feature because it's been asked by multiple studios. But it's something that the teacher can give as an assignment to a student, and the student can then work on a video for the next lesson. We just implemented the school library. So there is the teacher library, but there's also the school library. And this is a direction that I think we're going to start honing in on, and the path that we're going to take. So the school library is library that exists in the admin account, where they can add video, they can add PDFs, documents of any kind, and the teacher will have access in their account to this school library. I was talking to a studio owner the other day, and they were really excited because they're like, not only can I share stuff that then the teachers can share with their students, but I can share stuff just for teachers. All the onboarding information that we have for teachers, all the teacher info stuff, anything that's digital, I can put in the school library, and that now will be easily accessed right in each student teacher account.
So for this, okay, so that's interesting. So the school now has like a general library, kind of like you can go check out a book from the library. This is kind of like that in the sense that all the teachers have access to this general library, or can you turn it on and off, like who has access and who doesn't?
Now that is a general function. So all the teachers are going to have access to this library, and they can take anything from that library, the school library, and add that to their library, and then if they want to pass on to their students. I know that we have a lot of different entities in the school, like we have violin teachers and guitar teachers and piano teachers, and they're not going to all be interested in the same information, but we have a tagging system within the library, and you can tag things in any way that you want to. A teacher can do this in their library. They can tag something beginner, tag Beatles, tag strum if they're a guitar player. Any way they want to organize their library, they can organize all their uploads, all their videos into these folders. And because it's tagging, it's multiple folders. And the studio can do the same thing. So they can tag something as violin. And so when it finds its way into it is in the school library. When teachers go to the school library, they can just click on the violin tag, or they can click on the teacher info, or they can click on, curriculum. And I think that as LessonMate goes forward, we're going to be moving into the kind of the organization of information, organization of curriculum arena. So a lot of schools have benchmarks for students, right?
Sure. Yeah.
They have, and there's, skill tracking or levels. Some people use levels, right? So we want to organize things and give students these short-term goals that they can achieve and they can be rewarded for. And our idea is to create within LessonMate or adjacent to LessonMate the organization of curriculum, and then utilizing LessonMate to demonstrate curriculum through video, through lessons and such, and then show the achievement, student side achievement of said benchmarks or skills or levels, which I think is a really important part of this. Is we want it, and this is a retention tool, right? All this level things, these are retention tools. We want to reward kids for achieving things, achieving goals. And, there's a very performative aspect to all this, We want to be able to say, okay, you achieved this level, these skills, this is the proof of achieving this. And this is where, your family can go and check it out and look at you playing this piece, playing this scale, improvising over this track, composing this thing. And here is all the evidence of all of that. And this is, student can look back and feel really great about that. And so that's the direction that we want to go. utilizing the stuff that we have in LessonMate already. I'm just kind of expounding on it.
So are you saying that these benchmarks will be, you're going to build in like these benchmarks within kind of the student experience in LessonMate?
Well, we're going to have it. So the idea is for admin to kind of have a platform to create these benchmarks, what they consider, that their particular curriculum, what they consider important, we're going to say, levels or groupings of skills. And then that will find its way into into teacher accounts and then into student accounts. And the teachers will be able to help create these benchmarks. It depends upon how prescriptive a school wants to be, right?
Sure.
These are the things I need you to do with your guitar students, or these are the broad things I want you to do. And teachers are going to be able to fill in what they think is going to be important. And LessonMate, the core functions of LessonMate come in when teachers are documenting exactly what students need to do, showing them what they need to do. This is our little, we're going to be playing between a G and a C chord, here, to a metronome. That's, maybe a level 1 skill. And then there'll be a video of the student achieving that skill. And it'll be all organized. It's a work in progress, Dave. Sure. It's a work in progress at the time. So, but this is, part of our roadmap at this point.
Well, it's interesting because it sounds like where you guys are headed, where you're going, is more than just about makeup lessons. Well, it sounds like it's really kind of the name of the like the name of the program, LessonMate, right? It's kind of it sounds like where you're going is kind of more of like a helpmate to the lesson itself. And so what's interesting about that idea, and that actually might solve two things, right? Number one, it'll keep the student engaged during the week with practicing, but number two, it might actually get them to view the lesson mates a little bit more when they miss, right? Because they're in the habit of watching these videos where the teachers are, some, as we've used LessonMate, and we've done thousands of them just over the time that we've had LessonMate, but we've definitely seen teachers utilizing the library function where they'll make videos and they'll kind of store them up. And so then if they've got a student where they want them to work on this particular exercise or whatever, they'll just pull it out of their library and send it off. But this idea that there could be benchmarks, I think it's a good one. And I think it will definitely help with viewership, which is that. So, I mean, I would say the biggest feedback that we've gotten using LessonMate from our teachers is just they want their students to watch more of the videos, right?
Oh, sure.
And it's kind of like saying I want my students to practice more. I love your point about that. It's like, okay, well, that's great, right? But the student has to actually do that, and part of that is on the teacher, right? To like incentivize and motivate the student to want to practice more. But it's a great point, and I think the product's amazing, and I think it's a fantastic solution for anybody that's really looking for a makeup solution. Like, I mean, listen, if you're a small studio under 100 students and you have ambition to grow and want to, scale out your business, you're going to run into this issue more and more.
It's a problem that becomes progressively more of a challenge, right? Because it's more problematic the larger you get. Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally. Everything gets bigger, right? As you get bigger, not just the good stuff, but also the bad stuff.
Right. And every challenge, you're right, becomes simply more of a challenge. I forgot to mention one other thing. And so we use these LessonMate for when students miss, but we ask our teachers to use LessonMate even when the student's there, right? So this is the weekly lesson note. So this can be a practice log, or just a way to keep everything week to week to week transparent with everybody. Okay, and we just ask them to write down some small notes that are sent out to students. One, so the student knows what's going on, the family knows what's going on, but also so that the If there's a sub the following week, the sub knows what's going on. And if this teacher has to create a makeup lesson that following week, everyone knows what's going on. And so that's the weekly lesson note. And so we ask our teachers to be involved with LessonMate every single time they teach. And again, they're teaching, so they don't have a lot of time to do this. We're just asking for a few notes, but it's a way to keep the lesson process really transparent with families.
That's a fantastic idea, and it kind of solves what I was just talking about the more somebody uses something, the more they get into that habit of using it, the more you're going to see.
Let me ask you this quickly, Dave. Have you used the sub feature yet with LessonMate?
The sub feature.
Okay, check this out. So we implemented this a couple weeks ago. LessonMate has been a challenge when you have subs. You have to give the sub login information. Now you have to turn this on in your profile, but now a teacher who is subbing for another teacher can go up to a drop down and choose that teacher they're subbing for, and that teacher's roster becomes their roster.
Mm.
And so it's a really easy way for subs to get all the student information. And then they can create lesson notes or create a makeup lesson, and it's attributed to the sub, but it's now in the stream of all the lessons that the student has. And it's also a great way for new teachers to see what other teachers are doing within LessonMate, to understand how to work within LessonMate.
So if you're a substitute teacher, you're going to come in, and obviously you're going to be needed. You're going to have to be given a login. Like you have to create a login for that.
You got to create an account. Exactly.
Okay,
every teacher, every
sub teacher now has an account, and now they'll have access to all the teachers, and they'll just drop down and pick which teacher they're subbing for.
Right. If Molly is subbing for Jacob, Molly's going to pick Jacob from the drop down, and now Jacob's roster is going to become Molly's roster. And now Molly just needs to click on students and create makeups as he is. And then if Molly is a new teacher, a sub, and they're having to create a makeup lesson, they can just look back on some of Jacob's older lessons and see exactly what was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Take a look at that, Dave. Tell me what you think.
I certainly will. I certainly will. Well, hey, listen, Dave, this has been very informative. And again, I can't recommend your program enough, and I have tried a lot of different things. Trust me, I've tried a lot of different things, and when you're dealing with larger numbers, you can look at the data and you can look at complaints, like how many complaints do we get with this strategy? How many complaints do we get with this strategy? Completely. And I have definitely gotten it's just been a home run for us, and
that's great,
and less expensive for us as well, less hassle. So if you're looking for a makeup solution, I would highly recommend just check out LessonMate, and I think that you will be very pleased with the solution here and how these guys can help you out for sure.
That'd be great. You sign up for a demo if you have any questions, and I can walk you through. It's right on our website there.
Perfect. Yeah, so somebody can sign up for a demo and they can test drive it.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Dave, thank you again for being on. And again,
my pleasure.
Wish the best of luck to you in your program. And I'm excited about the future of LessonMate for sure.
Thank you so much for having me, Dave. It was a ball. I loved it.